Finally, it is Thrust's time. Thrust is better than the others.
Oh, good. I was starting to get really bored.
What?
Listen, Starscream couldn't make it, so you'll have to do. Alright, boys. Get him.
No.
It is the final round of the Seekers, and we are going to be reviewing Thrust from the Bumblebee movie. And pretty much once I'm done reviewing Thrust, I do have to answer the question of who I will recommend. And basically, I think the answer is going to really surprise you. it even surprised me, too. It really surprised me who I was going to pick. But yeah, we're going to see if Thrust can win it all. So before I start the articulation, I'm actually going to introduce something really new to the video. Basically, what I'm going to introduce is a scoring system with the articulation. And really all that the scoring system is to kind of help me understand if I think that this figure has really good articulation or whatnot. Like the grand total that you can pretty much get for each figure is 20 points. But they don't need to have a perfect score to be really great. Basically, for me, a passable score is anything above a 12. I think that I've set the threshold to be anywhere between a 1 to 6 to be really bad articulation. 7 to 11 is pretty much above average, so it's passable, but anything above a 12 I think is really good. So that's just kind of like the breakdown for the scoring system. So let's see how many points can Thrust get in the articulation. I don't know, you really can't like move his head that much. That's kind of one of the major differences I noticed between him and Skywarp and Thundercracker. I actually don't know if you can remove this piece because every time I try, this thing kind of goes up. If anyone knows that this is removable and maybe like his head does actually rotate, then you know, I'd probably give him a little bit more of a higher score, but for me, I'm just going to give it like a half a point on his head rotation. He can kind of look a little bit left and right, but not really far. And unfortunately, because of the way like this cone head is, I don't think I can even rotate his head all the way around. He can barely look up or down, so I'm not going to really give him a point for that. As far as like arm rotation goes, he could definitely rotate his arms all the way around, but like you kind of have to move the wings a little bit because if you don't, they kind of get stuck up here. So you do have to like move the wings. So he does have arm rotation, so I will give him a point for that. He does actually have some sort of arm twist, so you can twist his arms. He does actually have elbow bend, so that's good. Like with all the other guys, no hand rotation. But he can actually bend his hands inwards into like this cavity back here. So hand bend is kind of a weird one for the scoring. Like for me, like how I consider hand bend is that if it doesn't require me to open up a panel like Bumblebee Soundwave, I will give it a point. And in this case, because there is a spot where you can, you know, do this for his hands, I'm just going to give it the point that he does have hand bend for that purpose. And unfortunately, even though his fingers look like they could move, they're actually static. So kind of wish that they could move, but unfortunately his fingers do not move. I did test to make sure that he does have waist rotation, but he has no waist rotation, so no score for that. He could definitely do a T-pose, and of course his hand is missing. And then he's got pretty good kicking ability. And again, like he can kick his legs forwards, but I don't think I can kick his legs back. But he can do the splits. Come on, Thrust, do the splits. Yeah, so he can definitely do the splits, that's good. Now, leg rotation is kind of a weird one, so I wasn't sure how I wanted to grade leg rotation, because like he can do this, and to me I'm going to say that that is leg rotation, but I also know that with some characters, like with Flatline, like he has like thigh rotation, like as long as the leg can rotate in some way, I'm going to give it a point. So, you know, I mean, if someone wants to kind of correct me on what they would call this, because again, I'm not very familiar with all the terminology when it comes to like these parts and that stuff as a new collector, but you know, for me, I'm just gonna give it leg rotation that, yeah, like at least his legs can twist. So, you know, we're just gonna go with the flow, right? We're just gonna go with the flow. And he can bend his knees. Unfortunately, he does not have foot rotation, but he does have ankle tilt. Now, as a little bit of a note, so this is kind of a good example where he technically has foot bend, but I'm not going to count it because with the hand bend situation, you do have to open up like a panel or, you know, like this piece, and then his legs can be kind of stashed in here. And in a way that, yeah, you could definitely kind of move this and bend it, but it does require me to open up like a panel or some sort of compartment. So for me, I'm not going to count it as foot bend. I almost called you Skywarp. There are 2 extra points that Thrust will get for the articulation. I probably have already gone over this maybe, and maybe not, but as you can see, his wings do actually move. So you could definitely move this, and you can also move this back. And I have no idea why, but this piece also moves for some reason. His crotch piece also moves. I don't know what's the function with this. I actually have no idea what's the point of that. But I will give him a point that yes, his crotch piece does actually move. So he gets 2 bonus points. And I think the final score I gave him is like 12.5, which is above average. That's actually pretty good articulation. I'm just not really liking the fact that you can't do much with his head. That's probably the only area where he really kind of suffers is the head rotation. But not bad though. Not bad for our first scoring for thrust here. So he does actually have above average articulation. So I'm gonna go ahead and transition you over to the accessories, all right? So Thrust comes with 3 guns. So just like Skywarp and Thundercracker, he basically has the same set of weapons, just like the other 2, except his main weapon is green. So at least it matches, you know, his aesthetic, I guess you can say. So yeah, so you can basically kind of slot his guns however you kind of like. And pretty much you can put the guns away on his back when you're done. And pretty much that's kind of about it. He pretty much is the same thing like Skywarp and Thundercracker. As far as the weapon testing goes, he can equip Black Dragon swords. So that's perfect. He can equip the swords. He can also equip Barricade's guns, so that's good. And of course, he can equip Novocaine and Freezer, just like Skywarp and Thundercracker. So yeah, I'm just kind of going through this really quick because he literally is the same thing, just like Skywarp and Thundercracker. So not really kind of expecting much because I've already reviewed both of them. And so I'm pretty sure this guy is literally going to be the same thing. So yeah. Oh, but here's the kicker though. So Thrust does have his own little backdrop. And then of course, it is literally the same thing. But can you take a guess what's different about the backdrop though? So Thrust's backdrop is slightly bigger. It's kind of hard to kind of tell from this angle because his box is slightly taller than the others. So that's probably why the backdrop is slightly taller and slightly bigger. But it's kind of like a minor difference because it's kind of funny that he has the same backdrop as Skywarp and Thundercracker. But actually what's even more funny though is that when I checked Bumblebee, Bumblebee Soundwave's box, he also has the same backdrop. Like, you guys, I can't believe I have 4 of the same backdrops, and I don't even know what I'm going to do with them. Okay, so now that we're done with Thrust, it's time to kind of see if I can make Thrust into a supermodel here. So let's see how well Thrust photographs here. So I just kind of found like a really interesting discovery on Thrust here. So when I kind of look at his instructions, I noticed that he doesn't have like the cone head on like the actual instruction booklet art. So I kind of thought like maybe that's removable, right? But the more that I look at his instructions, like when I look at it, there's nowhere in the instructions that kind of imply or suggest that you can take off that cone head. So I don't know. I just thought it's really interesting that in the actual artwork, when you look at Thrust's like actual instruction booklet, like he doesn't have the cone head, but that could probably explain why Thundercracker and Thrust don't have that little cone shaped head any further. So yeah, because at least like their instructions look very consistent, and at least like, you know, you don't see the cone head on their design. But I just thought that's really interesting that on Thrust's instructions, you don't ever see the cone head in the artwork. So, but anyways, we're gonna go ahead and transform Thrust here, and we're gonna see if I can actually transform Thrust. And hopefully I can actually get this transformation down for a 3rd time. So here's my transformation attempt on Thrust. And now here's the transformation attempt on Thrust. And and looks like I was able to transform the Cybertronian jet for a 3rd time. So unfortunately, like Skywarp, I did have the same issue on the top where I couldn't get this to close. So it's kind of funny how like on Thundercracker, I could get it to close, but I could not get this one to close. And interestingly, when I look at the box, I think it said that there's 30 steps. And throughout this whole time, I really don't know what was the extra step that Thrust had. I thought maybe it had something to do with his cone head, but I don't know. I have no idea what the extra step was, but apparently he had one extra step and it was not very noticeable. But, it kind of felt like I was doing the same thing anyway, like the other two. So when it comes to like the difficulty score, because I gave both Skyrep and Thundercracker a 5, for some reason I was kind of struggling with him. I just can't really put my finger why I was struggling with him. I'm going to give him the same score, just like Skywrp and Thundercracker, like a 5 out of 10, but I don't know why I was kind of struggling with Thrust, even though this was like our third Transformer figure that we're basically transforming, and it literally should be the same thing. But I don't know. It's really interesting when you start with, Skywrp and then try to make your way down to Thrust, and it definitely feels very different. It really does. I do kind of think that all three of them look really interesting. They do look really different. But it's pretty clear which one really stands out, though. So I'm going to go ahead and conclude my transformation attempt on Thrust. Yeah, basically my critique on Thrust is literally going to be the same thing as Skywrp and Thundercracker. But I think the only major thing I want to say that I don't like about him is this cone. I think it's very clear that they removed the cone on both Thundercracker and Skywrp's model, because I don't know what function does it really have. I guess it kind of makes him look a little bit unique, but due to the fact that because he has this cone, I really couldn't rotate his head properly. So yeah, safe to say that's probably the big thing that really knocks you down a little bit, Thrust, is just that you just have this stupid thing on your head. Again, I don't know if there's a way to take it off, but yeah, that's a little bit kind of unfortunate. Oh, and actually his wings, funny enough, so his wings don't really seem to have that problem. Because you know how in Skywrp and Thundercracker's review, their wings were kind of loose, but funny enough, Thrust's wings don't have that. So yeah, it's kind of funny that his wings don't have that weird loosiness. So I don't know, is loosiness a word? I think I meant to say it's not very loose, but you get kind of what I mean. All right, so I found the rest of the Seekers here. So I have to ask the $1 million question here. Between Skywrp, Thundercracker, and Thrust, who would I recommend and why? And actually, the answer might really kind of shock you, and it's actually not for the reason that you think it is. The Seeker that I recommend would be this guy. So I actually would recommend this guy. So the reason I would recommend Thundercracker is actually not for the reason that you think it is. And actually there was something I didn't really go over in any of these videos, and that was on the price. So the price point on all three of these figures was actually really different. You would think that because they're the same toy, you think they'd be maybe about the same price, but funny enough, Thundercracker is the most expensive out of the three. I don't know why. On BBTS, at the time of this recording, he is currently $30 right now. And I think he goes for $39.99 on their storefront. So yeah, for some reason he's expensive. But again, at the time of this recording, he is actually $29.99. But the other guys though, so I actually bought all three of these guys on BBTS. And I believe Skywrp was the only one that wasn't on for sale. And if I remember correctly, he is $34.99. I think he's $35. And then Thrust was somewhere around $32, $35. So he was the second cheapest one. And I actually got him on for sale as well. But it wasn't a big discount. But still, Thundercracker, I pretty much would prefer, because right now he is currently on for sale. So he's probably a little more affordable than the other three. And overall, he was really the only one that actually I was able to fix that panel on the top. Because the other two, I couldn't really get it secured for some reason. I love the color blue, but the blue is what really stands out. I think he looks absolutely the best out of the three. But yeah, I think my clear recommendation is on Thundercracker. That's just my opinion. But I think between the three Seekers, I would recommend Thundercracker because I think he's the best one out of the three. That kind of wraps up my review on Thrust here, so I'll go ahead and have Thrust wave goodbye. If you guys like this review, make sure to leave a like and also subscribe to my channel if you're new. And I shall see you guys on the next episode. So, have a good night, everyone.